Alright, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Today is going to be a little bit of a rant video, and there may be some language slipping here and there, so if you don't want to hear that, I apologize. If you want to go see an actual Montana review of the ship and the capabilities, I know a couple YouTubers have already posted some videos, and as always, everyone's probably looking forward to PG's meme video. I know I am. That will probably come out sometime later this week because I know he hasn't been able to play it too much yet. Anyways, so if you're coming here for an actual Montana review, that's not what it's going to be. So if you don't want to see this, it's going to be a rant video about the tier. Then I guess we'll see you. But for everyone still here, I'm here to tell you that Montana is a great ship. It's got a lot of capabilities. It's got one hell of a broadside. It is basically a GK that's actually like good at its role, because GK has to balance like its secondaries and its guns, because its guns have pretty wonky dispersion sometimes. Montana is it's a laser beam. It's really accurate, and its role is heavy artillery fire, so you can play it at different somewhat engagements. Now, what I'm talking about today is great ship Montana, but the tier is so shitty. And I'm so upset when I see people being like, oh yeah, like Montana's added, that's, oh, I can't wait. Like, I understand that, like, it's a pretty cool ship in theory, but when you get down and actually play it in game, it's just another shit addition to the tier that doesn't need it at the moment. If the tier was more balanced with more cruisers, all that kind of stuff, Montana would have a lot more juicier targets to shoot. But as you can see, this matchmaking, it's 3 destroyers on each team. We actually have 4. They have an Albemarle on the enemy team, so true, we do have 1 target to shoot at. And 5 BVs. This is your pretty stereotypical matchmaking at Legendary tier. Now, the biggest thing that I'm saying, Montana is a great ship, but it just does not do well in all this, in like this kind of matchmaking. And this is what Legendary tier is. You see the Low Yang, double Low Yang is pressuring my Yudachi, all this kind of stuff. I was trying to get my guns ready for B because I knew I was spotted from B to help my DDs out at B. But all these DDs in front of us are spotted here, but I have no ability to lay down supporting fire to help my destroyers because it's 2 destroyers and the other teammate on my side is also a battleship. So we do not have effective DPM to take advantage of destroyers when they are spotted. And that's been the biggest issue, like adding variety to Legendary tier and getting the whole rock, paper, scissors rolling has just not happened. And I'm sitting here waiting to take a shot at this guy and he goes dark. Again, a 30-second reload as Battleship. It is very hard to be able to take those shots against these guys. And I have no weapons to spot these guys. I have no way to consistently deal like good damage to them. I'm completely dependent on my teammate here in the Shimakaze in front of me. And the Shimakaze knows he doesn't have great support because every 30 seconds we're having to wait for a reload. So he's anxious to push in. I'm sitting here trying to make use of myself, trying to be ready. As soon as I shoot, Lo Yang pops. He's shooting his guns in open water because he's in basically no danger here. And yeah, for some reason my game was actually lagging a good bit. If you could see that shot there, I was clicking the fire button like so many times. But yeah, Legendary tier is an absolute mess and it pisses me off. And I'm sorry for, this rant, but it's another ship. I told myself I would give Montana a good try. It is a great ship inherently, but the matchmaking heavily discourages another BB because you aren't able to support your DDs appropriately when the matchmaking is like this. So if they throw the game, if your DDs throw, there's really nothing you can do to counter that. And you're going to see at the end of this game, it's going to become a stomp because once we lose all of our destroyers because we weren't able to support them correctly, it's over. The game is over. As a Battleship player, and when the enemy has destroyers, they control the engagement, and there's really nothing you can do. Look, I'm trying to shoot these guys, and I'm getting some pretty decent shots, but it's just not enough. And that's 1 destroyer out of 3 more, and the damage is done. They've killed the DDs. This is a domination game mode. They've won the game. They have absolutely won the game for their team, even if he dies. And again, he goes dark. Me and the Bismarck now have no tools to spot these guys, and we're basically just torpedo bait. Our Shimakaze has also, or our destroyers have died at B, so the Shima, who's actually not playing the objective, is going to come around and torpedo us, but there's nothing we can do here. There's nothing we can do. And this is when you see me turn in, because this game is over, and there's essentially, the game is done. Like, I'm so pissed at this kind of tier right now, because it feels like Wargaming does not care at all about what's going on or how to even try to balance this tier. And I'm going to say, like, an analogy to this, because I thought of it and I think it makes sense. It makes sense to me. Let me know if it makes sense to you. Okay. We have 3 classes basically at Legendary tier. I'm not including carriers right now. You have cruisers, battleships, and destroyers. For the most part, they all come together in a decent amount. It's basically pretty even. It's a nice engagement. Destroyers have stuff to shoot at. Battleships have stuff to shoot at. Cruisers have optimal targets to shoot at. And I think of it as a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. When you have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you have 2 loaves of bread. You have a decent amount of, peanut butter, and then you also have a nice little bit of jelly to counteract the dryness of the sandwich that would just be like a peanut butter sandwich, by itself. Right now, if we're considering all the ship types of the game part of a peanut butter jelly, it doesn't really matter which is which. We are missing a crucial element at Legendary tier, and this game's a stomp. I mean, this is terrible. The game's ended for me. We're just going to sit here for another 7 minutes and explain this. But basically what Wargaming has created, if you count each class of ship at Legendary tier, a part of one of the 3 parts of a peanut butter and jelly, we have basically a ton of loaves of bread, slices of bread, aka BBs. And then I guess I can just say that DDs are going to be peanut butter, and cruisers would be jelly. So if we were trying to make a sandwich, Wargaming sandwich that they have made of Legendary tier, we have like 6, let's just make one sandwich. Let's just put all this together. We're going to have 7 slices of bread on one sandwich. We're going to have a shit ton of peanut butter on it, like 2 or 3 jars worth, on one sandwich. And then we're going to have like 1 itty bitty tablespoon of jelly, and that's going to represent the cruisers. Now, if you were being sold a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and you were buying a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and you got an abomination like that, would you be happy? Would you be like, yeah, no, that is a shitty peanut butter and jelly sandwich. If you want to make a good peanut butter and jelly sandwich that, interacts with each other, the flavors, you got to have the bread, you got to have the peanut butter. Everyone likes peanut butter. And then you got to have the jelly, the sweetness to help out the dryness of the bread a little bit, all that kind of stuff. But right now, Legendary tier is like, yeah, here's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but there's no fucking jelly. And we're left with this dry-ass abomination loaf of bread with a shit ton of peanut butter on it. And Wargaming's like, what do you mean? Why don't you like this? This is great. It's just like, no. And the community's like, oh my god, please, Wargaming, give us some jelly. We need jelly for this. We need cruisers. We need these cruisers in this Legendary tier. We need to balance it out. We need a more balanced flavor. We need a more balanced bite or type of gameplay. And Wargaming's sitting here like, oh, you want more loaves of bread? You want more BBs? Got you covered. Okay, and the player base is just like, what? No. And it sucks because you see people like that, like, oh my god, yes, like Montana's here. I've already seen a couple in Discord, and I get it. But those people do not understand the state that Legendary tier is in, and they just want the ships for, I guess, surface value, I guess? I don't know. Like, I really think Montana would be really enjoyable right now if there was more optimal matchmaking. But it sucks because the matchmaking that you're seeing right now is what you see every time. And this was lucky. This was lucky. Those 2 Loyangs, which might have been worse, who knows. They could have been 2 Shimas. They could have been, like 2 Kleberas, like whatever. It is it blows my mind that Legendary tier is still like this. And when Montana was talked about in the patch notes, I went to Discord and I was like, great, another fat DB that's going to get farmed by everything because it isn't facing optimal targets, and there's tons of things that can just counter it, like destroyers, that you have no weapons to deal with if your team is just, terrible. Like this game here. I was trying my best to help out the destroyers on my team, but I had no DPM. There was no DPM on our side. Our spawn was literally a peanut butter, and it was just a peanut butter sandwich. We had no jelly to mix in there. We couldn't help with the low yangs. I had a 30-second reload. I was trying. I did a significant amount of damage to one of them, but it was done. You don't need radar to counter destroyers. You need DPM to take advantage of when they're spotted and all that kind of stuff. And you might say, oh, we have Worcester, but Worcester really isn't that great in this game. Its biggest thing is AA, and it's just, without a carrier in the game, it's just a worse Cleveland, in my opinion. Like we have, and Alaska's basically a battleship. It's not, you still have the same issues with Alaska, because if you're out of a radar in Alaska, even if you do, you're only going to get 2 salvos off. And that is depending if your turrets are turned, because you do have long turret reverse. You also have a long reload. So it's still like a mini battleship problem of trying to support your DDs and kill the enemy DDs, because you have really bad DPM, and the odds of you actually killing a destroyer with a 30-second radar with 2 salvos, that's if you have your guns turned and if you're aware of it, is pretty slim. So, guys, I don't know. I told myself I'd give Montana a good shot. This is my very first game in it, and that's probably the last I'm going to see. So if you want to see an actual video of it, there's probably some good cherry-picked games. I could probably play Montana probably 10 times, and I would probably get a banger game over 200K. Matchmaking permitting, team permitting, but this is the shit that you're going to see most of the time. Your team's going to get stomped, your destroyers are going to throw, and then you're left with no options, and there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. If you're spawning with a destroyer and a battleship with you, and there's just like nothing you can do to counter destroyers if yours throw. The only way we got to shoot the low yang afterwards is because he ran out of his smoke screen and shot, but he knew the game was over. And then there was a Shimakaze to my left. There's no tools here. You're literally just another fat target for people to farm. So, Minotaur is probably going to come out in December. And from the Bureau, that means that we will be stuck playing this. Mine will be unlocked probably around like early February if it does come out in late December, mid-December, whatever. So we get to enjoy the shit tier. Until then, Mino is going to be a good breath of fresh air because it's going to be able to fill in the middleman spots and get more DPM downrange to kill those DDs. But anyways, guys, sorry for the rant, but I just had to. I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.